For diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, the question here is, are you seen? Are your ideas being received and rewarded at work? Frankly speaking, what's the point of being on a team where your light is not seen and your voice is not heard? A lot has been said on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I'm going to focus on the belonging. My favorite came from a graduate student in getting her PhD in belonging at Stanford. And she said, inclusion is when I'm invited to the party, and belonging is when I'm asked to choose the DJ. It's about contribution. So whether you're at a party or on a team, the question we're always asking ourselves is, do I belong here? And we always want to stay grounded in this research, and the gender equity elements are still real and strong. So this data hopefully gives a little humor and equal parts outrage that the fact that the future of teams has a lot of unseen potential to be a meritocracy. But when there are more CEOs named David than all female CEOs, I turned to Emilio Castilla from MIT for some answers. Emilio is a professor at MIT. And when I met him, he was smiling and warm and affable, which was a little confusing because his data was so depressing. He did research that showed that when companies say they're a meritocracy, they actually have greater bias in the pay and promotion decisions in their company, which was really counterintuitive. And when I gave this presentation to Europeans a few months ago, they were not at all thinking this was counterintuitive. They already knew that meritocracy was, an aspiration, but not quite science yet. So when you uncover this paradox, I think, all right, well, what's the takeaway? You have to look at your data objectively, probably by an outside analyst who will tell you the truth. Because the future of teams, and actually right now as well, expects this of you. Do the work. Know if there is pay and promotional equity at your company. And there is no doubt that your dream team needs to be energized, right? If you or someone on your team has a stereotyped identity, you might cover or hide aspects of your personality to fit in. For example, you might not talk about your partner if you're in a same-sex relationship. For me, I used to wear my hair back in a ponytail, and I would wear a double-breasted suit to pretend I didn't have bust. And then I wore glasses. I can see absolutely fine. But I was trying to fit in to a big accounting firm in New York City, and I didn't even realize I was spending this energy covering up elements of my identity. I didn't know that my name had to be David or John to get promoted. But here's what's surprising. Even if you're not in a stereotyped identity, 45% of straight white men cover aspects of themselves at work. They could be covering a disability of their own. It could be a learning difference. It could be that they grew up poor. The research here is really helpful because it makes us understand that inclusion is about everyone, right? We focus on the underrepresented groups as we should, and we need to include everyone because the future of teams is about, releasing all this great energy and not covering up any part of ourselves. The last piece of science on DEIB is the critical role that psychological safety plays in both performance and learning. Psychological safety was made popular by Google because they were studying teams and trying to figure out why some teams were more high performing than others. Because when they were hiring, they thought everyone was, highly potential, highly bright. It was actually based, though, in longitudinal research by Dr. Amy Edmondson from Harvard. Psychological safety is when someone feels free to speak up and share their idea without the fear of being penalized or ridiculed, embarrassed in any kind of way. Teams that have psychological safety have trust. Interpersonal trust is essential. They have respect, and they feel comfortable being who they are. The right norms on a team can raise the collective intelligence of your team, which is what we all want, right? Even when people are individually bright, we can sabotage the impact if we don't have this psychological safety. The other thing that's good to know is that high-performing team cultures need to have roughly people talking about the same amount. Can't be one person dominating a team conversation. And they also need to have empathy, which is basically a way of saying average social sensitivity to be able to read cues of other people's, their expressions. To perform our best in the future of a team and right now is to be able to talk safely about what's messy or sad. We need to listen to each other, right? And we don't want to put on the armor, as Brené Brown talks about it, because then we're not really fully living, given how much time we spend at work.